Gloucester going about pretty deep here.
Porter's going to open the bowling from the Hayes close end, right arm round the wicket to the left-handed Charlesworth, who dabs that into the offside and backward point fields, and there's no run. And you had quite a spectacular win in the first part of this second part of the season in the county championship.
Yeah, extraordinary game with Matt Taylor and Jared Warner at the crease, both who've been dropped here, but they were both at the crease with 25 needed to avoided the follow-on, and then went on to win in spectacular fashion on the final day with another final day chase.
Porter in again, bowls to Charlesworth, who guides this one way, back pass, backward point out into the offside, and that's going down towards the cover boundary for a couple of runs. So 2 runs to the total, and Gloucestershire 2 for no loss in the first over.
Wasn't the happiest of games for Ben Charlesworth, however, who started off by having a catch dropped off his bowling in the first innings, and then a couple of low scores, but it's nice to see him back, and it was his first championship match of the season, having missed the first phases of the competition due to injury, so I think we can excuse him.
4 slips in as Porter comes around the wicket, bowls, that takes the leading edge. It's into the ground, those soft hands by Charlesworth, the batsman running down towards the third man boundary. It won't get there, it'll just be a couple of runs to the total. 4 for no loss, and all 4 to Charlesworth.
And he was out in the second innings, leaving a ball which sent off stump cartwheeling about the furthest I think I've seen a stump cartwheel in quite a while. Luke Proctor was bowling okay pace, but he was not bowling 90 miles an hour. I've never seen a stump go as far as that. Rossington almost caught it, the wicketkeeper.
Hit the sweet spot as Porter bowls. That one's defended into the leg side, fielded at mid-on, and there's no run.
But he did have a great Royal London Cup campaign, and unfortunately missed Gloucestershire's final group game of that and the playoff game, where it would have been really nice to have had him. He was the leading run scorer despite missing those 2 games, including a couple of really beautiful innings. If he does get going, he is fantastic to watch.
Porter down the slope, up to the stumps and he bowls, and Charlesworth forward defensively back up the pitch, and there's no run. No demons in the pitch so far.
No, it'd be interesting to see how it plays, really, because there's this general idea amongst the county circuit, it seems, that the pitches here are going to turn because of Harmer, but to be honest, I saw some stat, I think it was Nick Friend who had it, that no opposition spinners actually out-bowled Harmer here, so it's not like the pitches are actually turning square. At least that's what I would think.
Porter in bowls full, and forward comes Charlesworth. Defends that into the leg side. That's the end of the over. 4 for no loss. I haven't checked the stats, but he was struggling for second innings wickets, was Harmer, so that would suggest that the pitches aren't quite deteriorating, like you say, as much as the opposition think it is, but I need to recheck. That was certainly the early part of the season. But yeah, end of the over. 4 for no loss. Essex coming off the back of that big win down at Glamorgan. As we keep repeating, it's second half of the county championship season, and the teams are still split into 3 groups, but at the moment we're not entirely sure what the point is in groups 2 of 4 groups 2 and 3. Dick Davis, who's going to be on in half an hour, will posit his theory.
Well, what we do know is that if it stays as it is next year, the format, then they're playing 4 seedings for that. So then, of course, it all depends whether we keep the format. Anyway, Sam Cook from the River End, in and bowlings to Hammond, who turns away to square leg, and they come through for a quick single, which is well judged, as it's picked up there by Walter. So 5 without loss, and Hammond gets off the mark to his first delivery.
So if they're playing for seedings, I presume the division that's Division 1, whatever it's called, this part of the campaign, is going to be seedings 1 to 6, whatever happens, right?
Yes.
And then the rest of the other 12 are just playing for where they're going to be in groups 2 and 3.
I believe so.
Okay.
Here comes Cook. Past the umpire, he bowls, and Charlesworth turns that one to mid-wicket, but they won't get a run this time. And the start so far by Gloucester have been pretty decent, but it's early days, and as mentioned, there is a green tinge to this surface, and Essex have a rather good attack, I think it's fair to say. So Gloucestershire are going to have to bat very well here, but I reckon if they can get going, it's quite a short boundary to one side. Cook bowls, Charlesworth is defending this one up towards mid-off, picked up by the long-haired Snater. Quite a short boundary to that side, and the weather, you'd have to think, might be pretty conducive to batting throughout the game.
Yep, so the short boundaries out towards the pavilion, away to our right-hand side.
It's Cook, Sam that is of course, in and bowls, and Charlesworth leaves. That one rises through to the gloves of Wheater behind the stumps, but especially with Charlesworth having been out shouldering arms to a ball that clattered into off stump last time out, there was a certain amount of nerves as that one passed the off stump there.
Wedge. Come on. Come on. Come on. You can connect. Come on. Come on. connecting. Welcome back, sorry about that. Just lost a bit of connection there. We've got a bit of feedback problems as well, which I need to get in touch with the studio. I'll leave you in Ed's hands just for a few minutes.
Okay, well, hopefully we'll get that sorted, and those of you who can hear us at the moment will continue to be able to hear us for a little bit. So Porter from the Hayes close end, 4 slips in place for Hammond as Porter in, and that's well outside off stump and left alone by Hammond. Pretty easy pace really through to Adam Wheater behind the stumps. As I mentioned, 4 slips, and then it's a pretty standard field. Just got a point mid off, mid on, and a mid wicket. No third man to start off with, as you'd probably expect with the early stages of a championship innings. No third man in at that stage. Porter in, and that beats Hammond, and Essex, well, a few behind the stumps thought they might have had the first wicket, but Porter never really looked convinced, and neither did the umpire Neil Bainton and Tom Lungley, the 2 umpires for this one. The always distinctive figure of Neil Bainton. Tom Lungley, the former Derbyshire player, standing at square leg at the moment. So here comes Porter round the wicket. Hammond is struck on the pad, and it's given not out. Looked to be pretty low down. I can only think maybe Angle from round the wicket taking it down the leg side.
It's on the all sides happen, is it? Nothing in the first over. We've had about 4 or 5 appeals in the last 5-6 deliveries.
They're going to get it nipping about, aren't they, these two? And it's going to be tricky. I mean, Gloucestershire, in the last game against Northants, the pitch at Bristol was doing quite a bit. It wasn't your typical Bristol Day 4 pitch, but the life's been squeezed out of it by that point. Porter in, that's leg side-ish, and turned up towards mid-on by Hammond. Not entirely sure that was quite where he was looking to get it, but then he does get the ball in rather strange areas past Hammond in that chase of Gloucestershire's in their first round, where they chased down 266. Hammond made 94, which is his highest score of the season. He played one of the most ridiculous shots you'll ever see, particularly in a championship match. I'll describe it to you in a moment. As Porter's in, and Hammond is feeling a bit for that one, but doesn't get the outside edge to it. That one looked to have nipped away from the left-handed Hammond through to Wheater behind the stumps, but it was a short wide ball, first ball of a spell from Proctor, so it was a loosener. Just halfway down the pitch, sat right up, but instead of cutting it away through the offside like most batsmen would, Hammond, one-handed shot, flat batted straight down the ground past the bowler before. One-handed.
Incredible.
Here's Porter, he bowls, and Hammond is a bit squared up by that, and it flashes away off the outside edge down towards third man. It's going to hold up well short of the ropes, but they're able to run up 3. Hammond up to 4. Gloucestershire 8 without loss at the end of the third over. Not entirely convincing that, however. It was pretty much along the ground. So 3 overs gone, 8 without loss, and both batsmen on 4.
Yeah, it's a good start by the bowlers. Got the batsman playing and missing. Squaring the batsman up as well. I hope you can all still hear us. There's lots of people around doing technical stuff around us.
A bit disconcerting.
It is. People twiddling knobs, pressing buttons.
We're going to be just talking to ourselves here.
4 slips as Cook turns, coming in from the river end, up to stumps right over bowls. It's clipped off the pads down towards fine leg for a single. 9 to the total. No, 9 on the total. And Gloucestershire will just be happy to get through this testing period. Suddenly after that first over, the pitch seems to have livened up a little bit and balls flying about.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, they were playing on a lively pitch last time out, so that's the only thing, I suppose, from a Gloucestershire point of view. You'd like to hope they could continue how they played in that second innings against Northants here. Obviously, it's going to be very tough to do that.
Cook coming in again, bowls full driven. Oh, just past the man back the point. No, it's well stopped by Nick Brown. Diving to his left-hand side. That's not Nick Brown, is it? It's Pepper diving to his left-hand side. And a nice drive by the batsman. Quite timed sweetly, but just didn't quite get it square enough on the offside. Front square on the offside. And Cook will have another go. Some trying to break through here at Chelmsford. Plenty of supporters away to our right-hand side in the Tom Pearce stand as number 16 Cook moves it again. Full again, driven down the ground. It's an awkward bounce in front of Snater, and that's going to run away down the slope for 4 runs. In fact, he's whacked Snater on that left thumb. That's going to be a nasty one. It's driven nicely, just kicked up as Snater dived to his left-hand side. Took a little bit of pace off it, but not enough to stop it from going to the boundary. 4 to the total, and Gloucestershire are 13 for no loss. It's turning into a pretty good start, this for Gloucestershire.
Snater's poor chap, he's fielding on pretty much the worst point that you want to field, right on the edge of the pitches.
Cook bowls again, full, brings the batsman forward, and there's no run into the leg side. So Essex have got a couple of games left in this competition. They're away to Surrey next up. That's starts on Sunday the 12th, and then home to Northants starting on Tuesday the 21st. As we said, it's not entirely clear what the point of all these divisions are, but we shall find out in due course. Cook in again, bowls back of the length this time. That's defended down the pitch, and Slater sliding on his right hand side stops that delivery, and there is no run. So Cook just adjusting his length here, bowling full at the start of the over, being driven away. We see the commentators say that bowlers don't mind the batsman driving, but I can tell you when it's going over 4 runs, they do. So he's just adjusted his length here, dropped it back a little bit, and Cook now turning at the back of his top of his mark, and he's running in past the umpire, right arm over to the left-handed Charlesworth, who just defends into the offside, up towards Slater at mid-off, and there is no run. That's the end of the over.
I'm sorry to say that apparently you haven't been able to hear me, which I'm not entirely sure why that is, but I'm using the same microphone and headset that I've been using all season, and I'm sure that it went in properly, so I have no idea what's going on here, but hopefully now you can hear me.
I think it was your headset, because now your headset's taken out. We don't get any feedback. Your headset went kaput.
This sounds far more like it should, I have to say. Oh dear, well, it won't have heard anything about what I've said about Charlesworth or Hammond or Gloucestershire's first match of this second part of the competition. Well, yes, I'm sure that's how Gloucestershire listeners especially will have been viewing it. And here comes Porter, and he bowls to Hammond, who's defending with a hand off the bat. Drops out very softly out into the offside. Well, yeah, bizarre. I've said we've been using the same equipment all season, so I don't know whether something's suddenly gone wrong with it, but
things are not made to last these days, are they?
Well, I don't know. I mean, have a look at the equipment concerned. It seems to have lasted for a good number of centuries, I think. Oh dear. Here is Porter. He's in, and that's a full delivery which strikes Hammond on the pad. He's been given out to LBW. Just looks to have nipped back towards him, and it looked like it might even have beaten him on the inside edge, possibly, but either way, he was right back into his crease. I don't think it was very far for the ball to go, and Neil Bainton absolutely no hesitation in giving Hammond out. So coming off the back of his highest score of the season, he made 94 in Gloucestershire's chase against Northants in the last match, but only 5 today, and LBW to Jamie Porter, Gloucestershire 13 for 1.
He's just got his length right, hasn't he, Porter, from that Hayes close end, possibly a bit too short in the first over of the day. There was a similar LBW appeal in his previous over, which the umpire turned down, but that one fuller of length, and probably struck him halfway up his pad. Bit of an easier one to give, that one, from the umpire. New batsman is Bracey.
It is, yes. James Bracey coming out at number 3. This kind of revamped Gloucestershire top order with Bracey at 3, Chris Dent coming in at 4 again, Charlesworth and Hammond opening things up. There was a little bit of guesswork as to what was going to happen as far as the top order, with Charlesworth back having opened the batting, Hammond having really cemented his place in the top order with the consistency of the runs that he's got recently, and then Chris Dent, but in the end it's been Dent who's been the one to drop down, and now Bracey coming out, and Bracey also not looking too secure in the last match against Northants, 7 and 4, and was out to Sanderson in the first innings and Tom Taylor in the second, but Sanderson bowled a terrific spell to Gloucestershire's left-handers in that game. I think a lot of people would have struggled against that bowling. As Porter bowls to Bracey, first delivery just rises up on him a little bit and catches him towards the shoulder of the bat, drops away out into the covers, and there's no run. But really Gloucestershire needs some runs from Bracey here, having lost Hammond, who, as I say, he's been so consistent since he came in to the side. It was for the Surrey match at the Oval, and ever since he basically got at least one decent score in all the games. Porter bowls, Tracy, who's that? Bracey drives down the ground, and it's picked up by Snater at mid-off, and there's no run.
And how's he been since his time with England?
Well, it's been still a little bit of a struggle. He had a decent game with the bat against Middlesex, his first game back, and then looked more himself in some of the T20s as well. As here comes Porter, he bowls, and that beats Bracey through to Wheater behind the stumps. Gorgeous delivery that from Jamie Porter, and like you say, it's the length that he's found again there, which has caused the difficulties. It's not too full, not too far back of a length, and that's the length that's going to cause the problems, really. But yeah, Bracey, he's been a little bit hit and miss, I think I would say. Sometimes he's looked back to his normal self, other times he's looked like he struggled a little bit. As Bracey this time goes forward and pushes that one up to mid-off, the end of a successful over from Jamie Porter. It's a wicket maiden, in fact, 13 for 1. The score remains after 5 overs, and likewise the keeping has been the same, really, a little bit hit or miss. Conceded well, must have been about 46 buys in an innings against Hampshire.
Ouch.
But yes, but he kept very well in the last match. Took a couple of really good catches and had a few difficult deliveries to deal with as well. So yeah, it's hit or miss, I think I would say, at the moment, and without being cruel to Bracey, that's just how it has been.
Cook continuing from the river end, right arm over up to some bowls to the left-handed Hammond. So how many left-handers have you got in your lineup?
There's 4 at the top of the order, and then Zafar Gohar, who is also left-handed further down. So 5 total, and I was told that it's the first time Gloucestershire have had that number since 1993.
Oh wow, long time.
What happened when they turned that up?
Well, the mixer out just
4 slips, backward point, mid-off, mid-on, mid-wicket, and fine leg. It's Cook bowls, and that's it up in the outside edge. Hammond just takes a walk to a short leg, just going through the delivery. He certainly played at that.
You could hear me just there.
And Cook walks back to the top of the mark.
But what, you sort of suggested that it was...
Yeah, but the mixer out just controls the volume through here. That's why I can hear myself. Like, yeah.
Well, I think that was the listen one, probably. I don't know that much well, but...
This is the mixer
Turning him
out.
again.
Yeah,
The sun
so
starts to beat down plenty of sun hats out there, and they'll be needed over the next few days as Cook bowls. That's down the leg side. Slightly lost his line there. Cook.
The effects, Mike.
Wheater takes
We'll
well behind the stumps,
I just thought that this
and there's no run. Still people filtering, as you would expect, 10:30 an early start for the September matches. I do apologise if you're having any issues listening to us at the moment. We're having a few technical problems with our colleague Ed Seaborn's mic. Just trying to fix that. Unfortunately, whilst we're still on air, as Cook, number 16 on his back, losing now. Right arm over to the left-handed Hammond, who clips the ball into his pads and into the leg side. Brown fields at mid-wicket, and there is no run. 13 for 1.
So shall I
Just the
plug it back
wicket
in?
of Charlesworth this morning for LBW.
As it is.
to
So
Porter.
change it back. I haven't actually said anything since that last change.
Previous over.
Before it was changed, so they might be getting that changed.
But I haven't said anything since I changed that, is what I mean.
Cook.
All I did was swap those.
Yeah.
Cook running in now, past the umpire, bowls to Hammond, who drives nicely down the ground. There's a chase on here for Snater, running it down towards the boundary. I don't think he's going to catch this down the hill. No, he gives up. A long flowing locks behind him, rushing about in the air, and he just can't catch up with that. And Rymel with him for company, with the ball reaches the boundary before they can get there, and 4 runs to the total, 17 for 1. And dare I say it, I have to wear my sunglasses for the first time this season, and it is September the 5th. Quite sure. You're right there, Ed.
yeah. Well, I now
So you've you've turned up at the counter and causing havoc.
Apparently so.
Do I need to carry the commentary, or are you right for that?
I think we should be all right.
Cook right arm round to the left-handed batsman, who just leaves the ball on length, and just whistles past the top of off stump. Hair's breadth away from nicking those rails off, and